Hi everyone, my name is Leanne and today we're doing a book haul. So I've done a few themed book hauls so far this year. So I did one on my Afterlight books that I got from Illumicrate. I did a specific haul for the Irish Readathon. I have another haul coming up that is specifically the young adult, kids and work books that have come onto my shelves recently. So the next haul you see after this one will be that. This haul is kind of the rest of the stuff that didn't fit into a specific theme. So it's adult fiction, non-fiction and poetry. A couple of these books you've heard me talk about before in wrap-ups, but the majority of them you haven't, because I have this mental block where if I haven't hauled a book on the channel yet, I'm not allowed to read it. And on the occasions where I've read some of these books without having hauled them first, I feel like I'm doing something bad. I feel like I'm doing something naughty. A ridiculous mental block, because some of these books have been on my shelves since January and I haven't read them yet because I'm no, I haven't hauled them yet. It's so silly. I'm aware. I am self-aware of my ridiculousness. Some of these books I have been dying to read. So you should certainly expect to see quite a few of these books in either my next wrap up or the one after that. I really want to read these books. I'm going to start with 3 books I was sent by Book Break. The first of those is The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. So I've only read one Casey McQuiston book. I've read Shara Wheeler. I do have Red, White and Royal Blue on my shelf and I haven't got around to reading it yet. But this one sounds so good. 2 bisexual exes, Theo and Kit, accidentally book the same European food and wine tour and challenge each other to a hookup competition to prove they're over each other. I mean, that's book catnip to me. Bisexuals, food, travel, competition, hookups. Completely Leanne book catnip. So I'm very excited to read this one. Book Break also very kindly sent me A Proof of Bonding by Mariel Franklin, another book that has people kissing on the cover. I know what I like, okay? Adrift in her early 30s, Mary sets out to change her life one ill-advised decision at a time. I love books about people who are adrift. I love books about people that are making bad decisions. Mary goes to Ibiza. She meets a guy named Tom who's working on a drug that is meant to cure anxiety. As her connection with Tom deepens, she thinks she might be falling in love. Then she gets a job at a dating app. This company is founded by Mary's ex-girlfriend. Again, more queer representation, we love. And the founder is determined to make this new app a global success. Mary introduces Lara, her ex-girlfriend, the founder of this dating app, to Tom, who's the guy that's working on this anti-anxiety modern drug. And I think it gets messy and complicated. I'm in. And then Book Break also sent me a non-fiction book, which I'm really excited to read, and that is Nostalgia, A History of a Dangerous Emotion by Agnes Arnold Forster. And I guess this is a book that explores, I guess what it says on the tin, it is exploring the kind of social, emotional, mental phenomenon of nostalgia and looking back on the past with rose-tinted glasses. And it's exploring and unpicking the complexity of that feeling of nostalgia and how we can look back on the past and perceive it as better than it actually was. I think this is going to be a really interesting exploration of that topic and hopefully one that I feel a lot of kind of resonance and connection with. I think now I'm 28 years old. I'm kind of experiencing nostalgia in the most intense way that I ever have. So I'm intrigued to see what the author has to say about this topic and how I relate to it. Let's stick with non-fiction while we're on it, and then we'll do the poetry books, and then we'll get back to the adult fiction. Does that sound okay? You don't have a choice. I make the decision. So this was a book that I pre-ordered. It came out in hardback last year, but I wanted to wait for the paperback, and that was Inshallah United, A Story of Faith and Football by Nuruddin Chowdhury. You may know that I'm a massive football fan. I'm a massive Manchester United fan. My relationship with Manchester United as a football club, as an institution, as a business, has gone through a lot of shift in the past couple of years for various reasons that I won't go into here. So I'm very interested to see someone else explore their relationship with this football club and what it meant to grow up being a Manchester United fan and how it impacts your kind of... I really feel like growing up a Manchester United fan had a real impact on the person that I have become. So I'm really intrigued to see someone else explore their relationship with the football club, but also from a very different perspective to my own. So the author is specifically looking at how their connection with their faith as a Muslim and their connection with the football club intersect with one another and impact one another. I'm really interested in how ultimately our connections with sports teams we support are often more about family and friendship and community than it necessarily is the sport sometimes. I have 3 poetry collections that I picked up. In Waterstones Piccadilly, they have a massive clearance section on the lower ground floor. And I did not go in there for the first couple months of the year because I was getting too many books anyway. I did not need a clearance section of Waterstones. And I went in there maybe a month ago now, expecting it to be cleared out. There's not really going to be anything left in there. And there was still a lot of stuff in there. And I picked up these 3 poetry collections. So Teeth in the Back of My Neck. I've already reviewed this one on the channel, so I'll leave my most recent wrap-up linked so you can hear my full thoughts on this one. But a very brief overview is that it is a collection that explores identity, ancestry, history, and the feelings of confusion and sadness that the poet often connects with when exploring those topics. I picked up Kumakanda, which is a collection that I have seen around a lot but hadn't picked up yet. And the title of this collection translates to the word transition. And the poet is exploring the rites of passage that a young boy from the Luvale tribe, I think I've said that correctly. It's the rites of passage a young boy in this tribe has to go through before he is considered a man. This is something that I don't know anything about, so I'm very interested to hear the poet's perspective on that experience. And then I also picked up And Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. I've read a few of Maya Angelou's autobiographies. I think she's got maybe 6 or 7 autobiographies, and I've read a couple of those, but I've not actually read her most famous work of poetry, so I'm very excited to. Okay, back to the adult fiction. I picked up a copy of Weirdo by Sarah Pascoe. I've not actually read any of her books before. I'm quite familiar with her comedy, and she's written a couple of non-fiction books, but I've not read those. This is her first, I'm pretty sure, book of fiction. I'm quickly going to read the blurb of this one, which I know people don't always love booktubers doing, but I feel like I'd kind of struggle to explain exactly what this one's about. Deep in Essex and her own thoughts, Sophie had a feeling something was going to happen. And then it did. It's December, the festive season looms, and Chris has entered the pub and re-entered her life, just when Sophie had finally stopped thinking about him and regretting what she'd done. Sophie has a chance at creating a new ending and paying off her emotional debts, if not her financial ones. All she has to do is act exactly like a normal, well-adjusted person and not say any of her inner monologue out loud. If she can suppress her light paranoia, pornographic visualizations, and pathological lying, maybe she'll even end up getting the guy she wants. Then she can dump her boyfriend Ian and try to behave like someone who knows how to enjoy Christmas. I didn't realize this was set at Christmas, and I now feel like I need to wait to December to read it, even though it doesn't look like a Christmassy book. Does anyone else get that? If a book is set at a really specific time of year, you feel like you need to read it at that time of year. I also picked up a copy of Come and Get It by Kylie Reid. This is another one that I have already read and reviewed, so I'll leave that wrap up linked as well. Kylie Reid you may know from her debut novel, Such a Fun Age. And this is a campus novel that explores lots of complicated friendship dynamics and power imbalances on a college campus, and specifically how money and finances can alter people's experiences and relationships. It's a novel that has a lot of layers to it, so like I said, I'll leave my wrap up linked. Dialogue Books very kindly sent me a copy of The Good Ones Are Taken by Taj McCoy. This is a book that explores Maggie's dating life in the lead up to her being the maid of honor at 2 of her best friends' weddings. She's running out of time to find someone that will be her +1 to these weddings. She meets a guy named Blake at the gym who seems completely perfect. He's gorgeous, he's successful, he's a doctor. She is getting butterflies in her stomach. Then we also have her college best friend, Garrett, who doesn't seem like he's ever going to be happy with any of Maggie's choices when it comes to dating. He's always pointing out the red flags. And when Maggie challenges him on this, he admits that he can't be happy with her dating someone else because he wants her to be dating him. So Maggie finds herself in this complicated love triangle between this near perfect guy that she's just met and her best friend. I don't always love triangles, but this one sounds like it's going to be really good, so I'm excited to read it. I picked up a copy of Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. This is one of those books that I'm just going into for the vibes. I'm not here to have thoughts, I just want vibes. I actually don't need to know anything from the blurb in terms of the plot or the relationship dynamics between these two guys on the front cover. It's an archaeological dig romance. It's called Raiders of the Lost Heart. Like, I don't need to know anything else. Like, I'm going into this book just for the funsies. I picked up a copy of Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. So I read Delilah Green Doesn't Care last year, and it was a sapphic romance. I really enjoyed it. Can someone let me know, do I need to read Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, which is the book that is in between Delilah Green and Iris Kelly? Do I need to read that book? Because if so, I will have to buy a copy of that before I read this one. So everyone around our main character in this book, Iris Kelly, is falling in love. And she's happy for them, but she does not want that life. She is very cool with just having hookups, which actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Delilah Green. But the rest of the plot doesn't remind me of Delilah Green. Iris goes to a bar and meets a sexy stranger there, which leads to the worst one-night stand she has ever had. To take her mind off this, Iris decides to go and audition for a local play, and it is there that she comes face to face with Stevie, who was her terrible hookup. These two enter into an arrangement that is one of my favourite romance tropes, and that is fake dating. No matter how many times I see fake dating, I don't have enough of it. I want more. I just find it really fascinating how people have performative relationships. Like, how do they behave when they are pretending to be what they perceive what a relationship should be like? I find that a really interesting dynamic. And we love a sapphic romance, so this is another one that I think is just going to be thoroughly entertaining. I picked up a copy of The Flip Side by James Bailey. This is a rom-com that is told from a male perspective, which I don't read a lot of, but when I do, I really enjoy it as something that is a bit of a contrast to a lot of the rom-coms that I normally read. So our main character in this one is Josh, who has planned what he thinks is a perfect proposal for his girlfriend on New Year's Eve. He has booked a pod on the London Eye. There is champagne, there is truffles, and he's going to propose to his girlfriend. He thinks it's going to be perfect until she says no. And then they have to spend the rest of the 29-minute trip around the London Eye together, awkwardly. So Josh has lost his girlfriend. He then loses his job and his flat. And because he feels like he can't trust his own judgment, Josh decides that he's going to make every decision with the flip of a coin. And I love a gimmick in a rom-com. And that flipping a coin gimmick really appeals to me. We really are in the no thoughts, just vibes part of this book haul. I picked up a copy of Night Shift by Annie Crown. I mean, I just love this. Look at it. It's pink. There's bookshelves. She's got great hair. He also looks very fit and is a basketball player. The bookworm and the basketball player are about to meet their match. So our main female character is Kendall. She is a bookworm. She works at the university library, and she just loves spending her Friday nights buried in the pages of a spicy romance book. Then the captain of the university basketball team shows up asking for poetry recommendations for an assignment, and it goes from there. I mean, I'm in. I have really high expectations of this book. It should be ticking a lot of boxes for me. It should be the perfect, cozy Friday night reading experience for me. Next, I have Thank You for Sharing by Rachel Runya Katz, and it has these really cool sprayed edges. So this has lots of tropes that I really enjoy. So it's got enemies to lovers, it's got like rekindling an old flame, and also forced proximity. I really like forced proximity as a trope. So as teenagers, our two main characters shared a kiss, but he broke her heart. They've been enemies ever since. But one day they are seated together on a plane, and then they also end up partnered together on a work assignment. Sounds good to me. From romances to How to Kill a Guy in 10 Ways by Eve Kelman. I have been really enjoying books that take kind of themes that come up quite often in kind of fiction targeted towards women and book club fiction, and then gives them like a thriller twist to them. So books like So Happy For You and Wahala that I've read this year have had that kind of thriller twist to them. But then also books like The Death of a Bookseller that I read last year. And I'm also thinking about books that I've really enjoyed in years gone by, like Sweet Pea. I feel like this is a type of book that I want to read more of. So this is about Millie, who sets up this hotline for women to call when they feel like they are in danger. If they feel like they are unsafe walking home at night, they should ring this hotline. And the frequency with which women feel the need to use this service is massive. And when Millie's own sister is assaulted one night, she decides that she should take the law into her own hands. I'm intrigued. I have very high expectations of this book. I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts when I get around to reading it. And the final book I'm going to talk to you about is The Mystery of Mercy Close by Marian Keyes. I wasn't supposed to buy this book. I've been bad. So I am trying to make sure there are no more than 2 unread books by a singular author on my shelves. And I already have 3 unread books from Marian Keyes on my shelves, but I saw this one and I picked it up. Now I'm going to explain to you why. Penguin have started to reissue all of Marian Keyes' books in like a bright block colour. It looks great. However, I have been collecting Marian Keyes' books in this white block colour. And when I saw this, I just felt like I needed to buy it in case I never saw this book again in the white cover, which is silly. I absolutely would, but I had a momentary lapse in judgment. It's okay. I will just read a Marian Keyes book over the next couple months and resolve this issue. I have decided to now read Marian Keyes' books in publication order. So I read 2 of her books during the Irish Readathon. I do have the next book that I need to read on my shelves, so I will pick that up very soon. I'm not even going to tell you anything about the plot of this one. I know it's one of the Walsh sister books, but it's nowhere near one of the books that I need to read next. Like, I need to read quite a few books before I read this one. Okay, that is it for the book haul. Oh wait, no, I have one more. I forgot about this one because it lived in a different bit of my bookshelf, but it is my most recent Afterlight book from Illumicrate. It is called The Prospects. It is by Katie Hoffman. It's a male baseball sports romance. I don't really know anything about baseball, but I recently read Fix Her Up, where the male lead in that male-female relationship was a former baseball player. This has like sports rivals, enemies vibes to it. And also one of the male leads is a trans man. I think the cover of this is really cool. Like, it reminds me of like an old school baseball card, and I love the baseball edges as well. I think they're super cute. Okay, now that is the end of the book haul. Once I do my young adult and children's and work haul, we will be totally caught up on all of the books that I have acquired this year. I can stop feeling guilty about wanting to read these books now that I've hauled them. I can just go ahead and read them. Does anyone else have that weird mental block if you are someone that like shares your reading online? It's one of those things that I just think is so silly about the way that creating book content has impacted my reading. If you have any thoughts on any of the books I've mentioned, do leave me a comment down below. If you want to let me know you're here but you don't have anything specific to say, can you leave me a book and or a basketball emoji to symbolize the night shift? That is it for me today. I hope you're doing well, and I will speak to you in my next video.